Welcome back to Curse, Code, and Crown, a live play Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition podcast featuring a fully original world and campaign. I am the wizard Cronox, observer of time. Curse, Code, and Crown features our regular voiceover artists and improvisers, Laura Elizabeth as the Orc Count Eta and Princess Gwendolyn, Tyler Hewitt as Makka Deathcap, and Ryan LaPlante as Duncan Danno, alongside our dungeon master, the incredible Tom McGee. So get ready for an adventure including thrills, chills, and hope for a brighter tomorrow. It's time for Curse, Code, and Crown!
Duncan, Makka, and Gwendolyn, you have been tasked by the entirely on-the-level, absolutely legitimate lawyer, Murdoch Truegood. And with a name like that, she's true good to be true. It's on our business cards. We haven't seen those yet, but it's true. You've been tasked with helping to sway the opinions of 3 jurors. You're in a rigged trial. The odds are stacked against Makka, who is being scapegoated for the curse that is currently afflicting the people of Bleen, as well as just a whole bunch of other maladies that he had clearly nothing to do with. In order to clear his name and thus enable him to properly help determine what's happening to the cluster and the nature of the curse that's afflicting his people and perhaps the larger ranging implications of it, you'll need to first clear his name in the trial. He has drunk a potion that will slowly kill him unless the antidote is administered on the trial date itself. Gwendolyn has also taken on a paralyzing rune that will permanently incapacitate her if she does not report in at the same time. So you have this evening to attempt your first of the 3. To refresh your memories, the 3 jurors that you're dealing with are Wajdi Vinemarrow, the Pontifex of Beliefs, who needs you to deal with the Jassians and their cult propaganda. You've got Phaedron Conesnout, concerned citizen who could be easily swayed by official records kept in the sunken archives, which are currently
Tritons.
Yes, which are currently in the possession of the Tritons, who have had a falling out with the consortium of Bleen. And there's Darna Heathcrop, who has a debt that she would like to pay, but is unable to do so. And you've been given an indication, Duncan, that you would be a good fit for this particular task. The 3 are in front of you. Duncan, at the end of last episode, I threw to you to determine which one to go to, because odds are neither Gwendolyn nor Makka will pick one.
Yes. Friends, it's time for us to go visit Wajdi Vinemarrow. I have questions about the Jassians. I feel like that would influence your quest. Makka's, they've been collecting bodies, and should we need something from your swamp for the Tritons, we will need to deal with the cult who have taken up residence there. So it feels like a logical first step.
If it would help prove my innocence, I will kill every last one of those cultists.
Well, we don't know if they've done anything wrong. They might actually be doing work you like. So let's go talk to Wajdi and hear that side of things. And then we'll go talk to the cultists and hear their side of things. And then the answer may be to murder everyone. But let's find out. Maybe it'll turn out they're actually involved in the cluster in a way you don't know.
Just so, yes.
Gwendolyn, do you have anything you want to catch them up on from your brief imprisonment?
I think just confirm to them that my idiot of a brother is king now. So I'll convey that to them.
He won't be king for long. That's the important thing. Usurpers to the throne is that's treason, and that's sentenced by death.
Yeah, and apparently he's being really rude to the people here, which is like why I'm basically being held hostage.
So they think you're some kind of emotional lever to be used to turn him.
Yeah, little do they know that, I told them that he killed, everyone.
Did you tell them that he tried to kill you, and that's why you're in the army?
I can't remember.
Well, that means no.
Succeeded in killing you.
That's actually even more true, but...
Yes, he did.
Do you know what? Let's go to Wajdi. This is kind of fucked up.
So you make your way out into the streets of Sour, and it's evening. There is just that kind of gentle, fresh breeze coming in off the water that's tainted by just kind of a smell that you've noticed ever since you arrived, but that is particularly pronounced sort of in the city. It's unfortunately just kind of a smell of unwashed bodies that have perhaps been working out a lot. That just kind of lingers in the air. You're suddenly very, very acutely aware of why Murdoch was so taken by your scent, Duncan, because it is rough out here. It's kind of a like high school locker room stank level of gross, which I'd completely forgotten about until I started playing rec volleyball at the local all boys high school gym on the weekends. And like, my God, just cleanse it with fire. Just burn it down, all of it. Start anew. But yes, it's there's something rotten in the state of Bleen. You start to make your way through the streets. You've been Murdoch told you that Wajdi is currently dealing with a situation at deployment. We'll say deployment center Blue. It's one of 4 deployment centers on the island city of Sour. There are other smaller islands in the consortium that are purely deployment centers. But of course, as with any large business, it pays to have a couple kind of near your headquarters
locations.
Well, it pays to have a couple close to home so you can point at and say, this is what we do. It's kind of like putting one car factory near your head office anywhere in probably the US and then just building the rest of them in like overseas. It's just like, look, no, we do it too. Like that fucking aggravating Apple label. It's like designed in California, made in China. I'm like, fuck you. So it's that kind of deal. Also early on, similar to how I believe it's how Hong Kong developed, which was like, if you start out as kind of a major port city and then like a city grows around the ports that are constantly seeing traffic, like eventually there's more city than ports, but those ports are still there. And I think that's very, very true of this. In any case, 4 deployment centers, each color coded. Deployment center Blue is where Wajdi can be found this evening. You approach it and you realize it's one of the large buildings you saw previously. In the sort of lower reaches, there isn't sort of another culture's building slapped around it. It's just too damn big. However, there is a sense of artistry and craftsmanship to this building that is different from the others you've seen. And Gwendolyn, can you roll me perception with advantage on Bleen?
Yes.
Bleen shit.
Nat 20, baby.
Ooh.
I rolled a 20 and a 19. That was good.
Damn, very good. You recognize this as sort of like essentially ancient turtle art. This is it seems to have fallen out of favor. It's not something they do anymore. But there's intricate carving in the wood of this building. It's still structurally very similar to everything else, but it was built at a time where embellishments seem to matter. In modern parlance, it would be a bit like, if you walk, say, Chicago or any particularly North American city kind of known for its beautiful architecture. So you have a bunch of buildings that are like stunning and have a lot of embellishment and craft in like the sconces and everything else. And then you'll see a building built yesterday. It's like, it's glass. It's like, oh, well, what about it? Oh, it's mostly glass. It's like, okay, so it's going to last the test of time, right? No. So it's that where like, we just don't build buildings that way anymore. And it kind of sucks.
I think it's like, you guys, like incredibly, that one pager that I got just before the consortium got to Orwell talked about ancient total art and architecture.
Yeah.
This is what it is.
I think the king King Veldrin was like, definitely fingies crossed that they were bringing something like this, because it would have been a real feather in his cap. There, as you can probably imagine, anything that predates Orville is viewed as like a pretty good get, because Orville itself is kind of so young and kind of invented its own history, that having those older things, it's like every British museum, just like, oh, we can steal the oldest things in the world and we'll just put them up for everyone to look at and be like, cool, right? It's like, so yes, he gave you the one pager. Sadly, all they brought was chaos. In any case, old building. And you can see, even from the outside, just tons of pallets of crates and boxes of all shapes and sizes being moved in and out. That said, where the sort of carts that would collect these sort of things to be shipped are, there's a huge backlog of carts kind of crammed together. And you can see crews desperately working to clear streets. You're not quite sure what's going on, but there's clearly kind of like obstacles here and there. But you get the sense of a system that, when working smoothly, is highly efficient, but is not in modern for us, but future for you, dear listener, terms. It's like when that big fucking boat got stuck in the canal. Suddenly systems that are normally very, very like easy to track, set your watch by them, just instantly collapsed because, oops, big boat got stuck. Womp womp. So all that to say, a lot of chaos, a lot of inefficiencies. People are still loading things, but there's definitely a sense of frustration in the air. You've been told that Wajdi, as the Pontifex of Beliefs, will be inspecting this deployment center, as there have been a lot of instances of Jossian acolytes on site, kind of spreading the word of Jossi to employees, which is not smiled upon. So you will find him inside, kind of conducting an investigation. How would you like to approach this?
Well, we need to speak with Wajdi, so getting access to them is first and foremost, I would think.
So I'm thinking we need to talk to Wajdi directly first, because if anyone sees Makka talking to a Jossian before we speak to Wajdi, they're going to assume Makka is guilty of fraternizing with this cult. So we need a way to get straight to Wajdi with no one in the way.
Do you think it's a problem that I have the similar Jossie on my chest?
Well, I don't think that's going to help on the scale of things. Is there a way we can just knock on the door and see if they'll talk to us? Like, I feel like there may be the lowest tech solution to this problem, rather than trying to do something fancy.
Like it's an active warehouse, so like you can just walk up to the door. There's guards and stuff, but I
think we just go up and talk to the guards is probably Duncan's first move.
Great. So you walk up, and the guards are again, like, as you've seen, like kind of the turtle tough that you're getting used to seeing. But they're both wearing blue vests, just very, very sort of reassuring stitched fabric blue vests that do absolutely nothing to diminish how scary these two fuckers are, but are clearly there. And as you approach, one of them just says, "Greetings, strange ones. This one has completed his task of being a greeter. Now I must ask you your business or prevent you from entering. These are the jobs of the greeters."
Thank you for your grand greeting, Honourable Tortle. My name is Duncan Danno, first captain of the Dawnbreakers. This is Makka Deathcap, gravekeeper of your people. And this is Princess Gwendolyn of Orville. We are here to speak with Wajdi Vinemero, the Pontifex of Beliefs, to help find the solution to the problems that the cult of the Jossians have been creating for this. Is it distribution center?
Deployment center.
This deployment center.
Distribution sounds like a heartless process. Deployment is, we are told, in training, a much friendlier way to discuss the distribution of items.
Excellent. Yes. So if we could either come inside to speak to Wajdi, or you could bring Wajdi out, we believe we could be of great assistance.
Is it because you have brought the leaders here for execution? I see the sign of the Jossians on both of them.
Oh, I speak up. Like, believe it or not, this is actually a scar that I got from like a knife going in and being like a sword being like twisted in the armor. So just a weird coincidence.
His eyes narrow and he says, "Wait, this one says they got stabbed in the chest by a knife?"
No, the armor.
Yes, but you presumably were in the armor and the knife went in and out and you are still here?
Believe it or not, I
yes,
wasn't in the armor at the time.
Yes, she survived her injuries. She survived her injuries. We need to go in because we are from a different faction of Josians. We disagree with people leaving their position at work, and we'd like to find a way to get those Josians to come back in.
I mean, okay, I just, this one would like to show respect to the one who was stabbed in the chest. That is metal as hell. And then he raises his hand for a fist bump. To you, Gwendolyn.
I think I think I probably do like the hand over the fist.
Oh yeah, it's
like,
awful for all involved, but also could potentially cause a diplomatic incident. So like, he just kind of nods, and the other one goes inside and comes back and says, "Yes, the Pontifex will be happy to see you. Please follow me." And you're led kind of in through like a very nice welcome center. You know, like nice high ceiling. It's got kind of a bunch of torches that are burning. There's kind of a large, beautiful wooden desk with a smiling turtle, just kind of like happily writing away. Well, you know, sneezing. And you're led sort of past that through a side door, and the tone changes incredibly. The embellishments are gone. You can still see some of the carvings, but they've been worn down over time by what, from the looks of things, cargo rubbing against them, and just like whatever work went into making this place beautiful has been completely kind of washed away by the speed of deployment and the kind of processes that new people have implemented. The place is bustling. There are just like, think like Indiana Jones, like at the end of Raiders when they're putting the Ark of the Covenant away in what we later discover is Area 51 Crystal Skull. Honestly, good choice. This is a good fucking good call in a series of bad calls. Yeah, I made a couple good ones. That one and Marion Ravenwood. Those were the only two ones you made, but they were good ones. So anyway,
still haven't seen it.
You just did. We just gave you all you need to know from that
Thanks.
movie. But it's that, but with just like ladders and pulleys and just turtles like running around, moving boxes onto these carts that they're then taking out. But at a glance, like this place is it's chaos. Again, you can see the system's broken down. Makka, for you, this entire place smells sick. You can just, like, more so than what you felt on the air, you almost feel queasy, and it's not your stomach, it's like the cluster itself is queasy being in this space. There's just such a kind of crush of the affliction going on here. It's also the most turtles you've been around since you arrived in a concentrated space. But this space feels sick.
Am I getting the impression that there is something intrinsic or inherent to this space that is causing or amplifying sickness, or is it just because I'm around so many turtles right now?
Go ahead and roll me a medicine check, please.
15.
You get the sense that it's both. I mean, from a purely medical standpoint, these work conditions suck if anyone is sick, and it would seem that everyone is sick. So you're basically, I think, in terms of cycles, just seeing like the sick getting each other sicker. But it's also a much more it's the most people you've felt packed in one space. So I think the combination of the two, one is just like, this is a bad scene for these folks. The other is, oh God, if you put them all together, I can physically feel this curse and what it's doing to everyone. At this point, you are very certain that this can't be a purely bacterial or viral thing, because virology doesn't affect the spores the way this is. Duncan, for you as a guy who has spent a lot of time in kind of the docks up in Orville, it's a familiar enough scene, but also in the same way that Gwendolyn kind of realized, like, oh, we thought we were playing pro baseball, but it was actually t-ball. We were just knocking a ball off a stick, and we thought we were gods. You're seeing the dock system in Orville perfected. It's what all of the dock masters you've ever met wished they could pull off. And honestly, it's interestingly what byproduct would look like if it had been folded into Orville. Like if like all the Orwellian needs weren't being processed down on the surface and then brought up, this is kind of what it would be. It rubs you the wrong way as a working class fellow yourself, but also in terms of kind of a gross failure of leadership on behalf of the consortium. This isn't like some evil thing that's happening. This is just the business of seemingly the entire country. You make your way through and are brought to one of the foreman's offices that is, arranged with just kind of like just paperwork everywhere. It's very, very well sorted. And amidst it all, there is a turtle who is wearing a velvet cape. As they turn around, they've got a velvet skirt. And he's got those little like tiny circular sunglasses from the fucking Bram Stoker Dracula movie, and or Morpheus from the Matrix, just pinched onto his Matrix 2 specifically, pinched onto his little turtle snout. And he is wearing a Pope hat, just a straight up Pope hat. It's made of the same purple as the skirt and the cape. Because his head is a turtle head, not a human head, it is tied in an elaborate bow under his chin. And he turns to face you and he says, "Oh, greetings. Another faction of Jossie, I see. Wait." And he turns to the assistant and he whispers something and says, "Makka Deathcap. The traitor returns. Come to see the fruits of your labor, come to their fruition." He's clearly using the same words over and over again, but he likes to feel important. So you see him catch it and then just sit in it. And just I think close his hands over his gut and kind of glare at you.
Duncan will have like taken a step back kind of subtly so that Makka is the one leading the group, because we really need him to get the fucking credit for this. And Duncan is confident in a quiet way that Makka will actually be able to handle this conversation, because Makka can't accidentally pretend to own a cult as far as he's sure.
Yeah, this is a pretty wins all the way down, honestly. So Makka, you're on the hot seat. How do you respond?
I am indeed Makka Deathcap, and I have come here to assist you with your troubles regarding these so-called worshippers of Jossie. I have taken the poison. I will comply with the laws of Bleen and prove my innocence. Tell me about these Jossie cultists that plague you so.
He believes you. He does a whole like insight, like, just trying to gauge like what the angle is here. You've got like a scary looking human who's got like weapons and shit. You've got a giant armored suit. Like there should be an angle, but to Duncan's point, like I was trying to figure out what to make you roll for just being honest, where it's like, can he like, and it's not actively doing anything. It's just like, does he believe you? So instead I just rolled on his behalf, and yeah, it's like, he doesn't want to, but there's no lie. There's no hint of guile. It's just like, this is the way it is.
I'm at -1 for this stat, but persuasion would probably be like, I'm telling the truth. You got to believe me.
Yeah. Well, I considered it, but I mean, the problem with persuasion is there's some craft to it, right? Whereas this is just like, this is the way. So
I think my brain says, yeah, you did the right thing. Just roll perception for the guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he nods slowly, and you can see him relax a little bit. And he just says, "Oh, that is so good to hear. Okay. Listen, I'm in a bit over my head. And if I get in too far over my head, it ruins my hat. So I really do need your assistance. It is good to hear you drank the poison. This means that all of this is entirely within the realm of the Bleen legal system." Cool. So the Jossians, I am somewhat surprised Makka Deathcap does not know of them, for they say that what they do is in your name. You as the prophet of Jossi, the wrathful. They come in here into our deployment centers and spread their horrendous propaganda, telling the workers to leave their positions and to help them collect the dead, to try and create a tribute large enough to stem the wrath of Jossi. They say that you told them to do it, but I see you here. You do not look like them, nor do you seem to be afflicted by the curse itself. I feel like I've been bamboozled.
Seem there has been a fundamental misunderstanding of Jossi, the god of death. I have no knowledge of these followers you speak of. Jossi communed with myself and only myself. Jossi, being the god of something as natural as death and the life that comes from it, has no need for wrath. I am Jossi's wrath.
He nods and says, well, for all of our sakes, Makka Deathcap, I hope you are correct, because death does not seem to have the same effect it once did in Bleen. Now, the cultists have spread their propaganda for the day here, and he kind of thrusts a crudely drawn hand brochure. It's like a bad facsimile of the Jossi symbol, as written by someone who is kind of imagining it, but probably hasn't seen it. And he says, as I understand it, they are gathering bodies to bring to what would have been your hut, now the temple of Jossi the Wrathful. They should be there tonight. They refuse to operate in the day, claiming that Jossi only wishes to see them in the night. What with the moon and all. And he just kind of like pokes Gwendolyn's chest.
Taking a closer look at this propaganda, what does Makka make of it?
It's very simple. It just says people of Bleen, the rage of the goddess is endless. We must do what we can to ease it. Collect the unrotted dead and bring them to her, that we may stem her rage. And then it just like gives directions to how to get to your
swamp.
Your Eminence, Sire Pontifex, in terms of solving this problem that clearly plagues you, both metaphorically, and I apologize for the double meaning, would you prefer that they simply stop preaching and stay away, or would you prefer that they come and take up the work within the deployment centers and only preach at night, or do you require an end to the cult and a return to their work?
He just shakes his head and says, There are enough problems in the deployment centers without trying to fold rabble back in. I have looked at the teachings of this Jossi, god of death to you, Mr. Tortle. I like to say that about us sometimes, it makes us all feel special. So, Mr. Tortle. The teachings of, be it a god of death or a god of wrath, are incompatible, as I see it, with the greater makeup of religion in Sour in particular, but perhaps greater Bleen. I am concerned about the spread of this cult, and I am concerned about the influence. They do not simply come from the deployment centers. They seem to come from all walks of life, everyone from the democratic nobility on down. This is spreading like wildfire, almost as quickly as the curse itself. I do not want them back here. I simply want this sorted.
Would you have any interest in perhaps an official version of the rules and the religion of Jossi penned by Makka that could be put through official channels that would meet the acceptable nature of your current religious beliefs?
Only once the cult has been quashed, and of course, only once the judgment of Mr. Tortle over here has been passed, would I be remotely comfortable. But allowing a traitor to our nation to establish a religion on the ashes of a cult and then being executed for said treasons does not sit well with the Pontifex.
Yes, I
Mr.
can understand.
Pontifex, sometimes I like to feel special too.
I can understand that, Mr. Pontifex. I only suggested as if we remove the cult, there will be a vacuum where you could perhaps direct any remaining people with Jossian sympathies, we could say.
Of course.
A positive avenue. But of course, after the trial, after
if
everything.
Makka is found innocent by the entirely objective jury of his peers, myself included, then yes, very happily we will take the official version, particularly a controllable version that has been approved by the Pontifex of beliefs would be ideal.
Makka, do you have any further questions before we go to meet with these Jossians?
2 questions. I will be brief. Vine Marrow. Have these Jossians sought to cure the sickness afflicting everyone?
He looks kind of sadly at you and he says, in all of my knowledge of all of the religions of Bleen, there is no cure for this. They are doing what they think may alleviate the curse by bringing the children of Jossi, as they have come to call them, the unrotted, to her. But I fear this will not be enough.
And you, Vine Marrow, when did you get sick? When did you succumb to this illness?
He kind of narrows his eyes and he says, I, as the Pontifex of beliefs, am above such things. However, I will admit to minor symptoms of the curse. It has lingered with me for some time, several months, if I am being honest. And it would seem that either you are a savior or you are to be murdered for your actions. So really, I feel like I can tell you. Who are you going to tell? Her? And he points at the armor. It's like him. Ha!
Makka also chuckles like,
Indeed, I am truly hated by my people.
He just nods like he's with you.
Yeah.
All right. Gwendolyn, you've been respectfully silent. Do you have any questions before we move on?
I mean,
no is an acceptable answer, just to be clear.
Yeah, I don't think I should say anything.
All right. Then, Your Eminence, we appreciate your attention and your information, and we will solve, shall we call it, the Jossian cult problem for you. Post-haste.
Excellent. That would be appreciated. We have much Sundara to get out into the world. I wish you the best of luck. I should mention this will, of course, have no bearing on how I view the trial.
And we would never want it to have any such bearing.
Oh, to be clear, it will. If you do this for me, I will very much. I don't understand if subtlety and innuendo is understood by you, but yes.
Understood by me, but not by Makka, so this is actually a good balance.
Oh, good. Okay, yes, very good. I shall leave you to it. I have cultists to track down. And he turns back to a map that clearly will not help him track down cultists, but it's something he can do that makes him look very busy and important.
Nice.
And with that, the three of you begin your long trek into the swamp, the moon high above your heads, in search of the cult of Jossi the Wrathful.
This episode of Curse Code and Crowd Sound was mixed and edited by Laura Hamstra, and the campaign was created by Tom McGee. Our original theme music was composed by Landon Knoblock, and Curse Code and Crown's logo was created by the brilliant Decapitated Markers. If you want to follow our players or our DM on Twitter, you can reach out to Laura at EL Hamstring, Ryan at the Ryan LaPlante, Tyler at Tyler_Hewitt, Tom McGee at McGeeTD, or you can message our whole company at Dice. So please, join us again for more Curse, Code, and Crown!
Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time. Christian Menicola, Long, the Half-Blind Prophet, James Cuellar, Charles Grams, Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, One True Artistry, Orion Birchfield, Lord of Bradovic, Noel Lewis, Scott Garland, Anthony Griffin, Chet Awesome Laser, Jordan Neesmith, Benjamin V, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Taryn Hefner, Cade Peters, Richard Cranium, Christian Mendez, Anna Zed, Eric Williams, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Great Dane, Acrix, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.